Hey legends, what's up? It's Darkmech here, and today we're covering off Blood DK in the Dragonflight Pre-Patch. Now, of course, Covenants and Legendaries are still functioning in Pre-Patch, so it's a little odd. Tier sets no longer function though. So with all of this comes some changes in your pre-patch recommendations. The recommended Covenant now in pre-patch is actually Night Fae with Naya. Our legendary choice in pre-patch also changes. We're saying goodbye to Crimson Rune Weapon, and now we're going back to Super Strain. The reason being is Crimson Rune Weapon no longer stacks with Insatiable Blade, which it was. Pheromones no longer stacks with Unholy Ground, so it's just back to Super Strain. Bit of a PSA around talent choices and covenants. All the covenants are absolutely viable, obviously, but if you're playing Necrolord and you decide to talent into A-Bomb Limb, that will overwrite your A-Bomb Limb and your Unity. So let's talk about talent builds as a good starting point. The first one on your screen here is just a core Ray build in pre-patch. Now keep in mind some things are flexible, like if you talented into Voracious and it wasn't, there was no real requirement for it, you could talent into Hemo instead for more damage to get access to that bottom section past 20 points. If you needed Mass Grip, you could drop points in something like Bloodshot, for example, to pick up Gore Fiends, or you could put a second point into Shattering Bones. There's some movement on this. Now, the class tree in pre-patch gives you 26 points to play with, and you're going to be picking up things like Death Strike as your starting point, obviously, Raise Dead, Mind Freeze, Anti-Magic Shield, Permafrost, Improved Death Strike, Anti-Magic Barrier, Icebound Fortitude, Anti-Magic Zone, Gloom Ward, Unholy Endurance, Unholy Ground, Insidious Chill, Will of the Necropolis, Death Echo, Icy Talons, and Empower Rune Weapon. And then when we head over to the spec side of the tree, you've got 25 points to play with. And again, you're going to be picking up things not limited to Heartstrike, Marrowrend, Blood Boil, Vampiric Blood, Ossuary, Death's Caress, which is now changed in its function, Dancing Rune Weapon, Improved Bone Shield, Insatiable Blade, Rapid Decomposition, Everlasting Bond, Coagulopathy, Tombstone, Sanguine Ground, Shattering Bone, Ironheart, and Bloodshot. So a really solid raid build there, just moving into pre-patch that's going to handle everything that gets thrown at you. For the Mythic Plus side of things, this would be the suggested build that we would be going with. Now the class tree doesn't actually change greatly, as is kind of the same with a lot of tanks. You'll be dropping Anti-Magic Barrier, Insidious Chill, Icy Talons, and Empowered Rune Weapon, and instead picking up Blinding Sleet, another point in Will of the Necropolis, Rune Mastery, and Abomination Limb, because we are once again playing Night Fae, and who really wants to do Mythic Plus without it? In the spec tree for Mythic Plus, you'll drop 5 points. You'll drop Bloodworms, Foul Bulwark, Ironheart, Bloodshot, and Reinforced Bones, and you'll be picking up Heartbreaker for 2 points, Leeching Strikes, Blood Tap, and Hemostasis. Now, rotational changes. This is a big one and one to get used to heading into Dragonflight. Your opener now is going to be Death and Decay, Empower Rune Weapon and Raise Dead, Dancing Rune Weapon, Blood Boil, Tombstone, Heartstrike, Death Strike. If you're in an AoE situation, Blood Boil. If not, Heartstrike, Death Strike, Marrowrend, and then Death and Decay as soon as the first one has faded. Now the idea with this opener is to ensure that your Death and Decay is down for the extra haste and damage. You're going to open with that early Blood Boil to get Blood Plague on the target to ensure the extra damage from Coagulopathy, and then you're going to see this massive burst damage from your Tombstone Explosion via Shattering Bones whilst you're in your Death and Decay. Now your rotational priority after this opener is to keep Icy Veins and Coagulopathy buffs up by using Death Strike every 6 seconds or less. Now you want to be tracking these buffs. You also want to still be using your Death Strike to avoid capping out on runic power. So at 75 runic power, you want to be using DS or whatever you have to do to keep the buffs rolling. You'll be using Dancing Rune Weapon, Empower Rune Weapon, and Raise Dead on cooldown. Keep Death and Decay up. The only condition here is not overriding your current Death and Decay that you have down. Now, as soon as it fades, the moment you have a charge, cast your next Death and Decay. Death and Decay is hugely important in our rotation. Now, I really want to stress that and get you going into that mindset because of all the damage that we can leverage off it. Now, you want to be using Tombstone on cooldown based off 3 conditions. Number 1 is that Dancing Rune Weapon is on cooldown. Number 2 is that you're going to consume 5 bones and gain 20 seconds of CDR in doing so. And number 3 is that you are standing inside your Death and Decay for that Shattering Bones effect. Lastly, there's the usual suspects in the rotation as well. Keep one of your Blood Boil charges recharging and always have 3 runes on recharge. Lastly, to finish up, talking about managing Bone Shield in Dragonflight. Now, ensure at the end of your Dancing Room weapon window that you hit Marrow Rend in the last 2 to 3 GCDs of your Dancing Room weapon, which will put you back to 10 stacks of Bone Shield. Outside of your Dancing Room weapon, keep yourself at around 5 bones. Use Death's Caress to maintain or refresh your Bone Shield stacks now, and just before Dancing Room weapon comes off cooldown, be it either under 5 bones or be it 3 or under if you're using A-Bomb Limb. So that's it. Any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, come join the Discord. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.